Hello race fans, Peter Mackay here, welcoming you to the Ricmotech Sports Car Series here from the wonderful Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're back home again in Indiana. Joining me tonight in the commentary booth is my esteemed colleague Austin Knight. Austin, I know you're very excited about your new computer arriving, but how are you feeling about this race coming up?
You know, one thing can make me more excited, and after what we've seen so far in the Ricmotech Sports Car Series, especially after that Watkins Glen race, and I keep going back to watching at the end, oh, this series is absolutely fantastic, and I've been looking forward to this race all day long.
Well, I used to sound like Sean Connery before that race, but we got so excited that now I sound a little bit more rough and haggard. So, so exciting was it, and I'm sure it will be no different today at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So, without further ado, thanks to our sponsors Ricmotech High Performance Sim Racing Equipment, here's a little look at a very handy track guide of the right way around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Welcome, everyone, to Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course, located here in beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today around this oval course that was constructed all the way back in 1909. And the first auto event, well, it was held on August 19th of that same year. It wasn't until 2000, though, that this infield course was added, and it was the home of the very first U.S. Grand Prix. It is the only motorsports facility in the U.S. designated as a National Historic Landmark. So let's take a tour around this place. This 13-corner road course is a beauty. As we head up the front straightaway here, we'll notice our pit area to the right and our grandstands to the left, which is quite unusual for what we typically see here as we cross that stripe and head down towards turn one here, which is a very, very tight entry and a heavy brake zone here. Very difficult for drivers to squeeze their way through here at the beginning of races. It's really exciting to watch. Coming out of turn two, we're going to rotate right to the bottom here of turn three. Come off a throttle, just a light brake, let that car rotate nice and gentle, get it to the bottom, then slowly come back to throttle out of 3 through 4 now, and then down into turn 6. Actually, that was 5 back there, my bad. Gonna rotate here around this carousel corner, I like to call it. This will track us back left here so we can get a good rotation right down into the belly of 7 and dance with that corner. That is a tough one. That throttle entry, or throttle exit I should say, is just a very cantankerous process getting off that corner. Here we go, down into the 8, 9, 10 complex, wrapping that apex again, and then down here into 9, we're going to hug this real tight as well. And of course 10, we need to get ourselves set back up wide left for this entry into 11. Coming out of 11, we can really get to throttle quick and open it up here, as this is going to take us to 12 and then ultimately up onto the front straightaway here at Indianapolis Speedway, up onto the oval course. And this is certainly where all the overtaking and a lot of slipstream will happen here, as drivers will be hugging that bottom, coming out of the 13th turn of the road course here and coming upon that beautiful brick stripe as we head down this front straightaway again towards turn 1. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate it.
So there you are then, that is all the way around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A big thanks to our sponsors Ricmotech for that very handy track guide. While our drivers are out there in the early stages of qualifying for this Ricmotech Sports Car Series event, let's have a little look at the championship points so far, starting with our GT4 runners, which of course is split across 2 different cars. We have the Porsche Cayman and the Bmw M4, and here they are then. Mike Dam leads by a very slender margin of just 3 points from the fast Estonian Eero Nom, sitting on 167 points, but very close behind, just 9 points off the leader, the Wonder Kid himself at number 1, Elvis Rankin. Jacob Beasley isn't out of it. He's on 154. His race number is 154 and 110 points. So not out of it. Still plenty of races to go, and you'll see how the rest of them line up further down the screen. In TCR, the leader right now is Brandon Whitworth in the 42 machine, leading by just 6 points from Matthew Warner. 11 points back from the leader is Henderson Knox, with Eric Violet on 120, just 30 points back. So all to play for there in the TCR runners. Of course, here in the Ricmotech paddock, we love multi-class racing, and you will see that the Audi TCR cars run slightly slower than the GT4 cars around this Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and that will cause its own problems of its own, Austin, and that's one of the main challenges in multi-class sports car racing.
It certainly will be a challenge with traffic coming in here at Indianapolis, but it's going to be an extremely interesting battle in the TCRs because there is a lot, and I mean a lot of straight here at Indianapolis. So we might see a little bit of repeat of what happened at Watkins Glen with some little bump drafting battle.
Yep, there's certainly one thing that touring car drivers are not scared of, and that's fender-to-fender contact. But in the GT4 guys, of course, we have it's very much a German showdown. We have the Porsche 718 Cayman Gt4 MR. This Porsche is very, very popular customer racing car, naturally aspirated flat six engine mounted in the middle of the car, boasting about 425 horsepower. And then we also have the Bmw M4, which joined us about 3 months ago here on the iRacing service. And the BMW, a bit of a different beast. It's a front-engined straight six, but with 2 turbochargers as well. So a completely different animal. A little bit more aggressive power delivery, and actually a little bit more of a dragster in a straight line. And of course, as you said, Austin, that straight line is going to be really important for the GT4 runners. The BMWs might just have a little edge, maybe.
Yeah, BMWs have a little bit more oomph than the Porsches, but the Porsche is so nice to drive through that first section. I believe they are going to have the advantage at the first part of the lap, but the Porsche is going to have the advantage through this long back straight and that long front straight. But in the turns, that Porsche is going to be a bit more ahead, and Indianapolis is more like 50-50 on what you really want in these cars. So they're going to be very balanced.
Absolutely, that little Porsche is so maneuverable. Of course, having the engine in the middle of the car is the perfect place for the balance as well. So you see, it's Aeronom, the rapid Estonian, on pole position right now with a 1 minute 31.395. Currently sitting on pole position by over 0.6 of a second, which on a lap of this length is utterly dominant. Interestingly, in practice, Aeronom, Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam were very, very evenly matched indeed. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes as Aeronom puts in another quick lap, a 131.291. That is really shifting on Austin.
Absolutely, and Aeronom is just hammering down the point. 7/10 ahead of Colin Weatherholt. He's put in so many times my voice is failing on me.
Wouldn't be the first time for both of us here in the booth in the Ricmotech paddock. Of course, 2 rounds ago in this particular series, we saw one of the most crazy races I think I've ever seen between in the touring car class, and we'll have some of that action again tonight. I'll happily take one for the team and lose my voice over that because it was so exciting indeed. Tonight we have a 60-minute race with one compulsory pit stop for the Audi TCR runners. They're actually running only 37% of their maximum fuel capacity, which is 100 litres in the Audi. So we'll expect one pit stop from the Audis and also the GT4 runners as well. So it's been interesting. We've seen a couple of different strategies as well so far in the last few weeks. One in particular that comes to mind was in the GT Challenge series here in the Ricmotech paddock, Austin, when Mike Dam came in, Travis Schwenke came in about lap 4 at Zolder and made it last all the way to the end and got onto the podium.
Yeah, strategy here goes a long way. Some guys want to go in early, some guys want to wait to the end. But if you can pull off a well-timed strategy, it's going to pay dividends, especially in a multi-class race, especially if you're in a faster car and you're coming up to some lap traffic. It might help you to go into the pits first to avoid that traffic and give you a little bit more cleaner air to run in.
Yeah, of course, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is a notoriously narrow pit lane, and of course is renowned in the Indy 500 for being incredibly busy. That won't be such a problem today in the sim here, but lots of cars. As usual, here in the Ricmotech paddock, a packed grid of cars. Of course, here, if this is your first time joining us in the Ricmotech paddock, welcome. Thank you for your company. This, what you're watching here is our sports car series, one of 3 series in the Ricmotech paddock. We also have the Classic Sprint series, which welcomes the Ford Mustang V8 and the MX-5 Mazda, or Miata as it's known over the pond. We also have as well the GT Challenge, welcoming the GTE cars and GT3 machines, Audis, Ferraris, Porsches, you name it, we have it there. And every Monday night we have racing here in the Ricmotech paddock. Thanks to the lovely folks at Ricmotech High Performance Sim Racing Equipment and also Elite Texas Graphics as well. Well, it looks like, interestingly, waiting for Mike Dam to put in a time, Austin. I was expecting him to have put in a hot lap by now.
Well, he already did 1 lap, but he actually got a penalty on that lap. He went off track, so that first lap that he did actually did not count.
Well, that is interesting. So we'll see if Mike Dam, of course, he has 4 attempts to set a lap time in this 15-minute qualifying session. He's certainly had very strong pace in practice. A lot of the drivers use every bit of practice time available to get themselves up to speed before the race. You see Mike Dam weaving and warming his tyres, which would indicate to me that he's not on a flying lap right now, but obviously just winding himself up for one. But if Mike Dam, this will be interesting to see, Austin, he'll need to get a lap time in because, well, you don't really want to have to cut through that 15-car field.
Yeah, it's going to be a large field, and you said it, you definitely do not want to cut your way up through the field. And Mike Dam, he knows that, so he's just going for that very last and final hoorah lap. This lap is going to count, but it's not going to be a blistering lap at all.
Now, of course, Mike Dam has a bit of a point to prove after a very closely fought Mazda MX-5 race just 1 week ago here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and Mike was pipped to the line on the very last corner with a little mistake on the last corner, running wide onto the marbles, and that allowed Elvis Rankin to come through and take the win. And I suspect that will be in the back of his mind, Austin, would you say?
It will be back in his mind, but it's not going to be, he's not going to be thinking about it. It's just going to subconsciously be poking him in the back of the head.
Yep, and it's always going to be there as a consideration, isn't it? But Mike Dam's had a brilliant season. Of course, he races across all 3 of the series here in the Ricmotech paddock, and one drive that particularly comes to mind was in the GT Challenge race at Zolder at the wheel of his Porsche 911 RSR, which was an incredibly impressive drive to win that race, and also at Laguna Seca from my memory as well.
You are absolutely right, but Mike Dam truly a journeyman, and he's just doing everything pure on Ironman mode right now, and he's looking pretty quick right now, but not going to be quick enough though as he's coming around turn 1.
Yeah, now it'd be interesting to see how many laps he's had so far. We've seen him circulating quite a few times, so I wonder if this will be his attempt. And oh, wow, look at that! Just puts it in 1 minute 32.0 for Mike Dam. So that gives him, certainly puts him in the fight, Austin. Not the pole position, but Aeronom's speed is looking pretty ominous, at least over 1 lap anyway.
Yeah, that speed is looking very fine, but to the gap that he has to Elvis Rankin and Aeronom is a big one. Half a second, and Elvis Rankin is going faster and faster. And Elvis Rankin, he's going to come across the line, but he is not going to take Aeronom's spot.
Oh, I thought he was. You just saw those purple sectors coming up on our SDK timing software, and of course, if you see purple on a timing screen, you know that someone's going really hot pace out there. But still a
Riley
good
Downey
on the front row of the grid for Elvis Rankin. We're looking at Riley Downey in the 14 machine, a very, very colourful, shiny gold machine. That is very cool. We'll not miss that one out on track. Sponsored by Sunshine Autos.
I believe that is called Rose Gold.
Ah, okay. Rose gold. Very nice indeed. Oh, now, where does Riley Downey go?
Well, he stays in fifth, but he goes ahead of Greg Brockway in the overall standings, but he improves his time, but it's not going to be enough to tip him ahead of Brandon Whitworth for fourth. Back up to the front of the grid in our GT4s, Cameron Martineau sitting in fourth place right now, 7 tenths behind Aeronom and just 4 tenths behind Mike Dam. He's coming around turn 4 right now. Green in first sector, green through the second sector, heading in to the final straight, coming down to the yard of bricks. Cameron Martineau is going to...
Oh, just went off in the last sector, Austin.
That last sector, coming out of the museum chicane, that exit is you got to be so confident on that exit, or else it's just going to bite you right there. And it did bit him on the exit coming onto the oval. That is very unfortunate for Cameron Martin, but he has another chance right now. I believe so.
Yeah, he's hustling around. So let's see where he can put this time in.
Actually, no, that was his fourth lap.
Ah, that's him done then. So
yeah.
Yep, nobody can challenge Aeronom, but don't let the times fool you, viewers. Don't make any mistake that Nom, Rankin, and Dam on race pace are very, very similar. So, and of course here at Indianapolis, as is the case on the oval, using parts of the oval for this track, the draft is going to keep that GT4 pack nice and tight together.
Yeah, that GT4 and TCR pack, everyone is going to be in a massive battle, and it's going to take a few laps for some people to start falling off. Sector 3 is going to be very important with that chicane, and Sector 1 with that turn 1, turn 2 combo is going to thin out the field a little bit, but it's going to show the boys from men, and it's going to show who's going to have our pack racing.
Time for everybody to grid up,
let's see how they line up then for this round of the Ricmotech Car Series live here from Indianapolis.
Flying lap out there for Euro.
Aeronom goes on pole position, joined by Elvis Rankin on the front row of the grid. On row 2 will be Mike Dam and Cameron Martineau. Row 3 will be Colin Weatherholt and Paul Gibson. Row 4 will be Travis Schwenke and Jacob Beasley. Watch for that 16 car of Schwenke. He's got some pace. Row 5 will be David Payton and Chris Thorman. And row 6, our very own Kevin Ford, series organizer in one of the sold BMWs in 11th. On row 7 will be Jeff Jacobs and Trent Brown. Row 8 will be Jordy Fike and Russ Ruddock. Row 9 will be Steve Daniel and Anthony Kernan. Row 10 will be Derek Holland and Matthew Ghosh. And row 11 will be Brennan Horan and Chris Schultzsmith. In TCR, Matthew Warner is your class pole sitter alongside Eric Violet in 23rd and 24th overall. Next up is Andrew List and Brandon Whitworth. Then Riley Downey and Greg Brockway, Henderson Knox and Edgar Sancinelli, followed by Tyler Vickery, and finally Michael Key in the 32nd position. And our Ford Mustang iRacing.com pace car is waiting patiently for the drivers to arrive, and we have a note from the race marshal.
So a little flip-flop these guys are going to do.
Now, I've not got the line into the race marshal. Austin, you tell our viewers what the summary of that one is?
Well, basically what he said, they're going to be swapping which line starts where. So everyone who qualified and ended up on the right side, that would be Aeronom, they're going to be starting on the left side, actually. And Elvis Rankin will be starting on the right side. So odd numbers on the outside, even numbers on the inside.
Ah, I see. Okay, so they've got quite a short pace lap here to get that one all figured out, but I'm sure they will. Of course, the organisation here in the Ricmotech paddock, organised by Extreme Motorsports, is always incredibly precise and organised as well. Of course, here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, well, this is one of the absolute blue-ribboned circuits anywhere in the motor racing world. This facility has been around with us
just
for
be mindful,
111
we are
years,
single
and
file
we've got another word
upon
from the marshal.
formation lap, but odd starting positions will be drivers right if there's any questions. Even starting positions, drivers left.
Alright, Race Marshal cleared that up for me. It's single file through the pace lap, drivers right for the odd positions, drivers left for the even positions.
Okay, so that's clarified there as well. They're coming through the middle part of the road course section. Of course, below the oval here, the brickyard here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway is obviously been around since the very beginning. The road course relatively new. It's hosted both Formula 1 and MotoGP, most recently MotoGP. And
GT4, pack up and pair up, please. Prepare for your start, pack up and pair up.
So we get the call for the race marshal for the GT4 to start packing up and pairing up Aeronom down onto the inside.
Now go to start speed, 45 miles per hour, 72 kilometers per hour. Prepare for the start. 78, the field is on you to the start zone.
From the top right hand side of your screen, on our SDK track map, they are coming up onto the oval now, running
Even
in the opposite
spacing,
direction.
please do not leave gaps. Pack up and pair up GT4. Prepare for the start.
Clockwise direction rather than anti-clockwise.
TCR, pack up and pair up, please. Start speed as well. Pack up and pair up.
Marshall's very active on the radio. He's telling everyone to pack up, pair up, get ready. They're at pace starting speed right now. Slowly coming along, Indianapolis, turn 1. The Ricmotech Sports Car Series, the GT4s are about to start it off. Aeronom and Elvis Rankin leading out the field at a very slow 45 miles an hour. Getting ready to put the pedal down. And it's green flag here in Indianapolis.
Here they go then. What a rocket start from Aeronom, using every last one of those 425 horsepower at the wheel of his Porsche as they pile down towards turn 1. Aeronom takes the ideal line. Mike Dam takes a little bit of a look inside Elvis Rankin, but comes out of it. And Cameron Martineau in the 31 Aquila machine goes in. Oh, a little bit of contact there between Martineau and Dam, and that has allowed an immediate gap for Aeronom and Elvis Rankin to try to escape. Let's go back to TCR.
Yeah, TCR team is started up right now. That was an incredibly aggressive start from Mike Dan. As we look at the TCRs, and around the outside goes Matthew Warner to take the lead ahead of Violet with Liz, Downey, Whitworth, and Knox following right behind. Your top 6 in TCR, a lot cleaner than the GT4s as Mike Dam and Cameron Martineau got almost into each other coming out of turn 2.
Yeah, they just banged doors there in their Porsche Caymans, and that really slowed them up and allowed Nom and Rankin to escape. And already there is nearly a second between Dam and Rankin, between second and third, and that is critical. You really do not want to let Aeronom and Elvis Rankin get into their rhythm, because they are just metronomic with their pace, as they're already round to the end of the first lap already. Up onto the super speedway they go, opening up all that horsepower from these flat 6 engines in the Porsche. And I think Kevin Ford is certainly one of very few, if not the only BMW out there. So most of our drivers opting for the Weissach brand rather than the Munich brand.
That's a very odd brand choice, but this long straight has cleaned up the gap. Mike Dam is already onto the back of Elvis Rankin, but just a little bit too far back to make any sort of moves. But they're definitely going to be able to catch up, but if they can keep that car going forward. Mike Dam has a problem. He got a lot of understeer, a little bit of a wiggle, and he goes wide and back under pressure from Cameron Martineau. Also, Martineau and Weatherholt swapping places with each other. Weatherholt now ahead of Cameron Martineau.
Yeah, Weatherholt just nearly getting the advantage there, but
and Elvis Rankin's up!
No, he isn't.
Timing tower had a little bit of problem right there.
Okay. Sorry, apologies, folks. Austin Knight has just had a minor heart attack, but just a minor one for now. So we'll see. We're riding on board with Elvis Rankin. This will actually get a little... What now? He might well have just stepped over track limits. And,
yeah, that's what happened.
Aeronom got very loose indeed. Just a little bit of a wiggle, and that allowed Elvis Rankin to go past. Quite the opposite of going off, but he's into the lead now in the Orion Racing machine and actually starting to gap Aeronom already. So Elvis Rankin, he might only be 13 years old, but he looks like he's been perhaps keeping a little bit of pace in hand because he's off.
Yeah, Elvis Rankin off into the lead by 3/10. They're followed by Aeronaut with Mike Dam slowly behind. But Mike Dam is catching on as Weatherholt and Martineau are fighting behind them, creating that gap to the top three. Elvis Rankin, Aeronaut side by side heading into turn one.
Yeah, Elvis just getting outdone there by Aeronom. Looks like Aeronom's going to take the lead back. He does, and that little bit of trading position has allowed Mike Dam to recover from a slightly shaky start. And now we have a three-car breakaway at the front. But Weatherholt trying to bridge that gap to try and get on top of it. In TCR, it's Eric Violette leading by just 0.2 of a second from Warner. And, well, Eric Violette has taken the lead from the original pole position sitter of Warner.
Yeah, if you remember our TCR masterclass from Watkins Glen, Eric Violette, Warner, and List, these three love to get it on.
Yeah, there's one thing touring car drivers don't mind is a little bit of wheel banging, and although it's all very polite and calm right now, make no mistake, it will get spicier later on as we see Brandon Whitworth going a little bit wide at the wheel of the 42 D2D Esports machine there, and just going past the 49 machine there of Knox. So, all very calm in TCR right now, but at the front of the field in GT4, it's interesting, a few drivers just having a slightly shaky start to proceedings. Now, our series organiser, Kevin Ford, came into the commentary box before the broadcast just to give us a little bit of a heads up, saying the track was very, very slick. High track temperatures here today at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, making the track very greasy and very slippy, and that clearly is showing in the opening sector.
It definitely is. It's going to be showing a lot of car control being key here, and that explains why a lot of drivers in the GT4 has been struggling, especially with keeping the car in that racing line, where usually in that opening sector you're able to keep it all the way onto the curb, but with that lower grip, we're seeing a lot of guys step out a little bit when that traction control kicks in.
Wow, Violette in TCR 0.7 of a second quicker that last lap around from Warner in second place, but in GT4 was absolutely nothing to separate these cars. Now, of course, these GT4 machines do have traction control and anti-lock braking systems, so they do get slightly loose, they do have a little bit of a safety net, but some drivers do run with it off because they prefer just having that control over it themselves. There's Kevin Ford in that white and black Ricmotech machine, one of, I think, only two Bmw M4s in the field. Of course, the BMW is a bit of a dragster in a straight line, but quite an aggressive power delivery and maybe a little bit cumbersome through the twisty section here at Indianapolis Road Course. And clearly, the Porsche Cayman, the car of choice today.
Yeah, Porsche Cayman absolutely favored by everyone in this series. We only have two BMWs, Kevin Ford and Russ Ruddick are BMW's runners right now. So if you want a little bit of comparison to how they're running, you can just look at them. But everyone up at front in that Porsche Cayman GT4 non-ranking Dam. It's a three-way fight for the lead, with Weatherholt and Martineau going at it for fourth place.
Yeah, look at Nom, Rankin and Dam already down into the 1:31 bracket. Very, very fast pace. We saw them clicking out those lap times. The only guys to click out those kind of lap times in practice. We'll see if anybody else further down the field can match that pace, but they're already breaking away from Weatherholt. The gap between Mike Dam in third and Weatherholt in fourth is 1.3 seconds, so they're really starting to gap now and making that three-car breakaway. And goodness me, we race here every Monday night in the Ricmotech paddock, Austin, and it doesn't really matter what car you put these guys in, they're always just break away at the front and have just I mean, Mike Dam and Elvis Rankin, they must know each other's driving style like a book.
Well, they do talk a lot and practice with each other, and they are good friends with each other, so I'm not surprised by this, but the skill level these guys have compared to everyone else is out of this world. As we look at the battle for first, Violet, Warner, and Liz unable to pull away from each other, but they have pulled away from the rest of the grid in the TCR class.
That will allow them a little bit of breathing space, of course, as well. Of course, these Audi TCR cars are wonderful machines as well, up to 350 horsepower from just a 2-litre 4-cylinder motor, and of course part of the very popular global TCR category, which you find in sprint racing and endurance racing as well. Very versatile car. Now, Aeronom leads this race, but he has very close company from Elvis Rankin in the number 1 Porsche as they come through to the infield section now, and just biding their time there. And of course, these cars, for some reason, Austin, the overtaking in these cars, you really got to line a move up quite far back. For some reason, the overtaking is quite tricky in these GT4 machines.
Overtaking is quite tricky, as we saw Elvis Rankin look down to the inside. He had the speed to make the move heading into the museum chicane, but he decided not to launch fully into it, deciding it would be a better idea to stay behind Aeronom and make that overtake up onto the large front straight here at Indianapolis. We can see him just on and off the throttle, just managing that throttle, managing the rear end of that car to stay behind Aeronom and keep his nose as close as possible to him and get that overspeed.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. This is interesting because, of course, remember, these drivers have to make their tyre last the whole 60 minutes. We really don't often see drivers in this class changing tyres. So maybe Elvis Rankin just letting Aeronom doing the hard work. He's certainly able to match the pace of the Estonian, and you see there's nothing to separate them there. But Mike Dam, interestingly, in lap time dropping a bit further back, but has closed the gap right back up again. So interesting that not often you could say that Aeronom would be the cork in the bottle, but he just seems to be managing the pace right now. So they're at that sort of consolidation stage. 10 minutes into the race, 50 minutes to go, a long way to go here at Indianapolis, and of course with a pit stop. Of course, Elvis Rankin, if he can just shadow Aeronom. Oh, what did you see there?
Martineau went cleanly up the inside of Weatherholt through turns 3 and 4 in that little short shoot before that right-hander, and I can tell you, that turn is so much fun if you go side by side through there, and Cameron Martineau made an amazing move.
Well, of course, Cameron Martineau, I think he might be the guy in the second pack who might have the pace to try and bridge the gap to the leaders, but he'll really have to push on now with some qualifying laps at the wheel of that 31 Porsche. But let's see if he can do that. Of course, running the number 31, which we see in the WeatherTech paddock, the Whalen Engineering Action Express Cadillac, the Cadillac DPI, one of my favourite race cars in the world, of course, runs that number 31. Just coming on to the 8th lap of proceedings here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Of course, some drivers are not a fan of the road course here at Indianapolis, and many actually do quite like it. I would say I don't mind it. I quite like it, and any excuse to come to this wonderful facility, either in the sim or in the real world. And it will also gather a wee bit of a soft spot in my heart as well, because it was the place where Scottish motorcycle rider John McPhee got his first ever podium in Grand Prix racing.
Yeah, this place also holds a special place in my heart. When I first saw the road course, I decided that it's going to be kind of looks like a karting track, but when I first got onto this road course, when I was testing a few cars here, oh my goodness, this road course just brings everything out of a car, especially that final turn.
Yeah, it's a good place to test. Of course, this facility originally was actually built to test motor vehicles, and of course, it wasn't long before manufacturers started racing one another around this incredible facility. And although we had an Indy 500 with behind closed doors this year, it was certainly no less exciting. Back in the TCR battle Violet just stretching 1 or 2 car lengths, and Matthew Warner now got the company of Andrew List in his grey and green D2D Esports Audi.
Looks like we're getting a replay of Watkins Glen already. Eric Violet pulling out a gap. Matthew Warner got a little bit loose, and on him is Andrew List. And I'm pretty sure somebody has the party poppers ready because it's about to get absolutely rocking here in TCR.
Yeah, it was a strange race, that race at Watkins Glen, wasn't it? It all started kind of relatively calm, and all of a sudden it just turned into an ice hockey fight between the 2 leading TCR cars, and I've never seen a more crazy race. There was brake checking going on, there was all kinds of funny business, but it was no less entertaining. Now look at that, that's telling, isn't it, Austin?
That is.
Yeah, Aero Nom going very defensive there, and allowing Elvis Rankin just to get that slightly better exit. But Aero Nom, I wonder, we know that Aero has got huge pace. The Estonian's so fast in any car he drives. He might go, do you know what, young man, your turn to do the hard work at the front. I'll sit behind you, but we'll see if that change of position happens.
Weatherholt going side by side again, heading into the museum chicane, and Martin is sticking his nose around the outside, then back onto the inside, up onto the entrance, gets ahead and continues to defend from Weatherholt. But I must say, the reason why Aero Nom's being that aggressive on the fence, he's trying to break off that draft, pull away, and just try to just upset Elvis into a little bit of mistake, because the draft is so powerful here. It's extremely hard to pull out a gap unless, like, your pace is off the charts. But all these guys, all 3 of them, their pace is already off the charts, so they're going to have to go into that book of racing drivers that they have always stored with them and how to pull away with a gap in the most defensive way or offensive way, as Mark Neal and Weatherholt going side by side once more. Weatherholt down to the inside.
That was a beautifully lined up move there from Weatherholt. Just drafted Martineau all the way down to turn 1. Gave him plenty of room, made the move stick cleanly. That's a beautiful move there from the driver of the number 20 Porsche, Colin Weatherholt. Good stuff. Now, yeah, it's interesting. This front battle is intriguing, and these guys, Nom, Rankin, and Dam, can certainly go that little bit faster, but they're just all playing the strategy game right now. And Mike Dam, he could be the cleverest one of all, because he's getting the double draft benefit, and of course, for the benefit of our viewers, you'll see if you have the car in front of you, they of course are punching a big hole in the air. That's when we talk about that draft and slipstream effect. If the car in front of you is punching a big hole in the air, that lowers the air resistance on your car and therefore increases speed. But what it also does is, of course, because there's less air resistance, you're using a little bit less fuel, and over a longer period of time, that can give you a tiny advantage when you get into pit lane, because of course you don't have to fill your tank up with as much fuel. So Aero Nom right now is the guy who's putting in all the hard work, and Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam could possibly be able to hop him in the pit stops. But I think really that GT4 battle after the pit stops is when the gloves are really going to come off, Austin.
I feel like all these guys know each other so well, they all might try to come into the pits at the exactly the same time. Mike Dam might try to go for a overcut, stay out just a little bit, but I'm watching Aero Nom's defending and racing. He's a little bit more aggressive than Elvis Rankin on his tires. So Elvis, at the end of this race, might have a little bit more grip, which might come into play a little bit, because this is a very, very slick track. And once more, Aero Nom defending onto the inside and taking that much tighter left-hand turn compared to Elvis Rankin, who's using that racing line.
Yeah, absolutely. And although it might sound odd, a low grip surface will wear the tyre out more, and that's this circuit relatively hard on tyres, but we've seen many times here in the Ricmotech Sports Car Series that you have to, in order to win the race, you've got to make that tyre last the whole 60 minutes, because there is just not the time to sit in pit lane changing your tyres. It takes about 20 seconds extra, which of course there's not enough time to make up that benefit as well. So 11 laps down, Aero Nom still leads from Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam, but interestingly, I think interesting point about Mike Dam with the overcut, I just suspect that he might need to keep these guys in sight now. What do you see?
Travis Schwenke through the museum hairpin off onto the exit. He's just clipped that grass onto the exit, and around he goes, and he went down the field as everyone's passing him right now, and he's trying to get back pointed forward.
Yep, that was a pretty small mistake, but a good example. I mean, Travis Schwenke is a very talented driver, races in the real world as well in classic VWs, and yeah, that was a very minor mistake and was punished severely. So that gives a great look to our viewers of just how low the grip is here for the GT4 runners. For the Audi runners, of course, they are front-wheel drive machines. The GT4's rear-wheel drive. Front-wheel drive, a completely different story. These are quite unusual cars to drive. I always find you have to keep them in a much higher gear than you expect. I always find myself buzzing the limiter all the time in these Audis, Austin.
Yeah, the Audis is... it's like one of those little carts that you see kids ride around Walmart in. They're extremely quick, they're extremely nimble, and to drive it, you gotta be on the limit constantly because the cars you're pointed with are the cars that are pulling you, and front-wheel drive compared to rear-wheel drive have a lot of cornering benefits, and we saw that theory kind of get visited again with the Nissan Nismo project, which unfortunately didn't really get off the ground, but in the lower classes in the TCR, they provide such exciting racing, especially if they go off-road.
Now look at that is curious. Look at this, 1 minute 32.7 for all three front runners. Now that is, I would say, that is about a second off what they are easily capable of and what they showed all the way through practice. So Aeronom is just managing the pace, and Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam are just quite happy to sit behind them. So I imagine all three of those guys in that front pack, they are all very, very within their pace right now. So what that should mean, that's good news for us, I guess, Austin, is that they're going to have plenty of life left in their Michelin tires towards the end of the race.
It's a second down of their best lap so far this race. Aeronaut put in a 1:31.80. Last lap, 1:32.7. 9/10 slower than what all these drivers did on their best lap. So it's either the tires are going out or these guys are managing that pace and being smart about it.
I think I think Aeronom's definitely pacing the field. He tried to break away earlier on, but decided, nope, I'll just step back off. And of course, I think he'll notice as well, he'll see Elvis Rankin take a look and decide not to go by. And he's thinking, okay, if you want to play that game, I can play it as well. And really curious strategy game here from Nom, Rankin and Dam. Mike Dam, of course, sitting there quite comfortably as well. But one place where strategy isn't quite so important and having a pair of very sharp elbows, here's in the TCRs. We look at Andrew List sitting in second position right now, right in striking distance of Violet, but Warner right behind in his rose gold machine with Brandon Whitworth right behind there in the 42 machine. So nose to tail, a quattro of Audis here. That's very fitting.
Yeah. It is very fitting. We went from a chat smash to an all-out cage fight brawl right now between Violet, List, Warner, and Whitworth. And I'm going to be honest, when they come into the pit lane and they come out and they're still like this, the gloves are going to come off and we're going to start seeing kickboxing. Or somebody going to grab a steel chair and just go at each other.
Yeah, and of course with these cars being front-wheel drive, they do have quite a lot of power and torque for a front-wheel drive car. 350 horsepower through the front wheels, and this cars can be pretty hard on tyres. I would imagine the front left tyre of these TCR machines will be absolutely destroyed by the end of this 60-minute encounter.
Yeah, if you're a fan of collecting marbles from tracks at the end of races, you will love to collect marbles from these cars at the end of it. I'm not sure if anyone else has that weird fascination with them, but I currently have a bag of marbles from every single Formula 1 USGP at Circuit of the Americas.
Oh, I'm with you there. I went to see the MotoGP race at Misano in 2014 when Valentino Rossi returned to the victory circle after so many years away, and I pocketed, there was a track invasion, of course, it's Italy, of course, and I pocketed myself a couple of tyre marbles and a piece of gravel. So you're in a safe space here, Austin. I understand your hobby there. As we see now, this is interesting. This could split the field up. We're coming across some lap traffic now, interestingly. That's quite early, especially given it's a GT4 car. That GT4 car moves across nicely, and it makes no fuss for the leaders. So, interesting. 22 minutes down. Elvis Rankin in second place. Now, when we had that onboard there with Elvis Rankin, Austin, he just looked to be really, really calm and gentle on those steering inputs, just being very, very smooth, just keeping that life in the tyre.
Yeah, Elvis Rankin is so smooth on the wheel. It's extremely surprising. And look, speaking of surprising, we got a bump draft three-way fight for second place as Eric Violet starting to pull out, and this is looking just like Watkins Glen. Down to the inside, Whitworth and List swung it around the outside. No room to actually get that done, but wow, what a move.
I tell you what, that was ever so close to contact between the two teammates there of List and Whitworth, and our pole sitter Matthew Warner starting to just fall back ever so slightly. Now I've just noticed on the back of Matthew Warner's car, he's got a license plate on the back that says no punt. Well, I get the feeling he might be slightly disappointed racing in the TCR.
Yeah, you don't want to be, I don't think he wants to be leading with that license plate, because when you see no punt, you kind of want to punt it.
Yeah, it's kind of like that big red button saying do not press.
I think there might have been a punt right there from Warner getting to the back of Liz, because Liz was very uncontrollable on the brakes.
Interesting, of course, we've got to lean the car, stand it on its nose with these front-wheel drive machines, and there is nothing more spectacular than watching someone put a touring car on the limit. Now, this is a bit of a battle here. Russ Ruddick in the Flying Tortoise Motorsports number 95 machine, like big black bomber Bmw M4.
Oh, he's got a lot of damage on that front nose.
Yeah, he has. He's been getting a bit cozy with another car in front, it seems. One of only two BMW M4s out there, and I have to say I've had a ride in one of the street car versions, which of course has a lot of transferable parts to the GT4 race car. And this thing, the power delivery, especially in the cold, wet conditions here in Scotland, it's brutal. Twin turbocharged, you put your foot down and then woof, it all comes in and lights up those rear tyres. So it's a bit of a handful, this BMW, but big pace. Is Mike Key there in the TCR car getting lapped by the GT4 leaders. Let's see what their lap times are looking like at the moment.
133.
Yeah, they're just getting
Now,
but make no mistake, viewers, they are not getting slower because they've run out of talent. This is pure strategy. But speaking of,
here comes Rankin.
Elvis Rankin's gone right. And Aeronom makes absolutely no defense. Now this will be interesting to see if Aeronom will hold the pace, or if Elvis Rankin decides to say, come on guys, we're pros, we can go faster than this. Come on guys, catch me if you can.
Well, the thing is, with Aeronom controlling the pace going slower, he's actually playing more of a marathon strategy where the lead pack just controls pace. They don't want to go as fast as they can because know that they'll tire themselves out more quickly, and if they do that, that risks the chance for a mistake even higher. So he was just relaxing. I think Elvis Rankin about to put Aeronom through the gauntlet, and I think Mike Dam might be a bit disappointed to see Aeronom in second place in front of him.
Yeah, this will be interesting to see over the next couple of laps if Elvis Rankin will up the pace, and if he does, whether that will be enough to break away from Aeronom and Mike Dam. I suppose now that he's moved to the front, it'll be interesting to see if Elvis does try that strategy, if he just goes, yep, I'll happily play that game too. I'll run it 1 minute 32. I can do those all day long. Elvis Rankin can do 1 minute 32s and he sleeps, and Aeronom got a little bit onto the marbles there, nearly touched the wall, but not quite. Now here goes, is Aeronom going to have a look? He had more than enough of a run, but thinks better of it, just gently going into turn one.
It wasn't a look. A little bit of a lockup though, mid-corner. Now the reason why Aeronom fell into second, it wasn't a look of Elvis Rankin going down to the inside. It was a mistake of oversteer from Aeronom, and Aeronom's going very slowly through that sector one, and Elvis Rankin going extremely smoothly, and I think that lockup from Aeronom hurt him a lot, and that defending that he's still doing right now is hurting his tire wear even more, because Elvis Rankin is starting to pull away.
He is just gapping ever so slightly there, so interesting to see if Elvis Rankin will be able to continue that. And I think as soon as he sees that gap, that's a point when he can really try and push and put in
through sector 1.
Yeah, trying to put in some quick lap times to try and break away, and that could break the strategy. That could change the complexion of this race and use up some of that tyre that he saved behind Aeronom. But this is a great battle between Weatherholt and Martineau. Martineau leading it at the moment, with Gibson right behind as well in that orange and brown Porsche. Strange combination there, but very nice nonetheless.
Gibson's just browsing of these guys. He does have his teammate of Weatherholt in front of him, though.
Yeah, but these guys, it's been a good, it's been a good battle indeed between Weatherholt and not a name we've seen too much up near the front. Martineau we're familiar with. Now let's see, what does Elvis Rankin? Interesting, Elvis Rankin a 132.9 last time around. We know he's got way more pace than that. So interesting. We'll see on this time around with a clear pack. And now that he's got a little bit of a gap, I wonder if he'll now start to push and try to stretch that gap out. So let's see what Elvis Rankin's going to do.
Aeronom's car is not set up for that opening sector. He burned out all of his tires, and that opening sector is all about tires and being smooth, because it puts the most stress on these tires. And that earlier moves that he was doing stressed out his tires a little bit too much, and he's already a second behind of Elvis Rankin, and Mike Dam is getting a little bit flustered behind him, and I will not be surprised if Mike Dam tries to overtake Aeronom very soon, because Elvis Rankin is pulling out a big gap. It was a second at the end of Sector 1, at the end of Sector 2, entering the chicane right here, it's down to 8/10, but that draft is not going to hold him there forever.
I have a theory, Austin. I think, now you talked about the compromise and the differences between the two. It's a story of two halves to this course. There's one, the opening sector, very, very technical, very, very twisty.
Knobs in the pits! Knobs in the pits!
Oh, Aeronom is, and I think, did Elvis Rankin go in as well? I just didn't see that on
Rankin's
the
on the outside. Rankin has stayed out.
He's kept going. Okay, different camera angle.
It was a late dive. It was a very late dive from Aeronom. I think Aeronom is going to be taking tires.
Okay, let's have a look. So, of course, I have a theory that I think Aeronom has that car ever so slightly more trimmed out, because he's definitely quicker in a straight line than Rankin's Porsche, but definitely, as you rightly spotted, struggling in the tighter twisty section. So let's watch Aeronom very closely as he comes down Gasoline Alley here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So he comes in, and if the car goes up on the jacks, that means he is taking tyres. So he'll be filling up with fuel right now to get him to the end of the race. It's right on half distance.
No tires.
Okay,
that's a bold move. We saw him losing a lot of time on those old tires, but I think he wants to have that clean air and try to push his own luck right there. But Elvis Rankin has a 1.5 seconds to Mike Dam, and Mike Dam has just been left in the dust now.
Yeah, Aeronom certainly needs Mike Dam to try and get onto Elvis Rankin and hassle him a little bit, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen right now. But let's see if Rankin and Dam cover off Aeronom, the Estonian, because we know, as you said, if Aeronom gets a bit clean air, he can be quick. Go on.
There's traffic. Aeronom saw there was traffic ahead, and he tried to jump the traffic by going to the pit lane.
That could be pivotal. That could be pivotal, as we know. Traffic coming through the slower classes, the TCR class, that can be so damaging to lap time, especially in some of the twistier sections where the front-wheel drive touring cars can be pretty nimble as well. And yeah, look at that lap time from Rankin, 133.4 last time around. Mike Dam actually 0.6 of a second quicker that time, so he obviously caught the traffic at a slightly better time. Now, they haven't gone into pit lane, so they've not covered Aeronom's strategy, so they're now starting to split on strategy that little bit more, and Mike Dam doing a good job to try and hang on to the back of Elvis Rankin here, and we know that Mike Dam's good through the traffic, and that certainly played out there.
Yeah, Mike Dam was very nicely with that TCR. That TCR actually let him by. He went way up high heading into turn 4 and turn 1, and we saw what happened last week when a car goes high into turn 1.
Yep, absolutely, and Yeah, I mean, you can imagine the traffic's going to be a bit of a problem here at Indianapolis. Can you imagine what it's going to be like in 3 weeks' time when we go to Lime Rock Park, which is really like a go-kart circuit as well compared to some of the bigger Grand Prix tracks. But Elvis Rankin really pulling away here, trying his best to try and break the draft from Mike Dam, and I think he's almost done that. Just about a second between the two, just under a second, but Mike Dam's trying to hang on to the back of the Wonder Kid Elvis Rankin, but they go round once more, so they really are splitting their strategy from Aeronom.
I mean, look at all those TCRs in the pit lane right now. All those TCRs going to be coming out of the pits right in front of Aeronom.
And, of course, Aeronom also is right there at the back of the GT4 field who have not pitted. So he's now in a bunch of cars, or they're about to come across a bunch of cars who are lapping much slower than him. So this could be pivotal. How is this going to play out? How is this going to shuffle?
It's going to be interesting. I'm not a fortune teller, but I'm going to tell you, Aeronom thought he had the master strategy ahead, but all the TCRs went to the pits at the same time, so Aeronom is just getting absolutely his face kicked in right now. He chose the wrong strategy, he went for a gamble, and unfortunately, Vegas told him the odds are no, and he probably lost $500 in chips right there, and he's looking for a quick exit out of the building right now. But knowing Aeronom, he's not going to give it up. He's going to keep his head down, try to use these TCRs to the best that he can, use that draft that he gets onto the straight, use that trimmed out car that he has, and try to put in a few faster lap times than Elvis Rankin. I hope Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam run into some troubles lapping the GT4s as Aeronom works on the TCRs.
Yeah, he's going to come across this TCR car here. He might actually get it at the perfect moment because they're about to come onto the back straight. He opens up the 425 horsepower of his little Porsche Cayman. Can he get past that TCR car in time?
All day.
Yeah, here he goes. Mirror signal maneuver. Visac power there from the Porsche. And that could be pivotal actually, because it's a GT4 car up ahead, so that will take a little bit longer to catch up. Well, this will be fascinating to see just how Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam are going to fare as well. And I think they'll have plenty of traffic of their own to worry about as well.
Weatherholt's still going side by side at the end of that long straight. Gibson has the best seat in the house right now if you're looking for a fight in the GT4s, because this battle for third between Weatherholt and Martineau has been absolutely on fire with each other.
Yeah, they've been glued together all race long, and it's impossible to tell who's going to come out on top there as well. Aeronom now, yeah, he's now getting onto the back.
He's dropped 2 seconds. He's dropped 2 seconds to Elvis.
And of course, those guys were so closely matched that, oh yeah, this is really getting held up by the 22 of Gosh there. But yeah, it's so tricky to tell where you're going to come out without a whole team of pit crew helping you. It's very tricky indeed. Most of the top drivers will have a spotter helping them out to try and not get held up in traffic, but it's going to be a bit of a problem here for Aeronom. But it looks like he'll get past Warner there in the rose gold Audi. He's finally come across them on the back straight. Will he be able to get past in time? Well, I don't know if he is.
No, he's not.
Oh dear, that's bad news. Yeah, it will be. So interesting. But Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam, they're still lapping in the 1:33, so they've got more pace. They're both absolutely identically matched the last time around. So interesting when they come into pit lane, when that will actually be.
Weatherholt's loose on the brakes going in there. He's running a very lower brake bias than what Kevin Martineau is. If you watch Weatherholt going into the braking zone, you're going to see that rear end to start doing a little bit of a dance in the brakes.
Yeah, that was. There's one of the funniest things I've heard was Patrick Long, long-standing Porsche factory driver who had so much success with Jörg Bergmeister, and Patrick Long's impression of Jörg Bergmeister is absolutely hilarious. And I won't do the accent, but he says that there's a brilliant way of when he says Jörg Bergmeister always used to come into the garage and say, yes, the car is very snaky in the braking. So Colin Weatherholt, the Jörg Bergmeister of the Ricmotech paddock. Now we have a ruling from race control. Car number 16 of avoidable contact warning.
Travis Schwenke.
So they are looking at Schwenke. They have their eye. The steward very, very quick to act to any incident on track here in the Ricmotech paddock. Speaking of our sponsors, Ricmotech, let's take a very, very brief break for a quick word from our sponsor. Welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and perfect timing. Elvis Rankin comes into pit lane in his Porsche with, unsurprisingly, Mike Dam in his shadow. So let's see, we saw Aeronam not taking tyres. Let's see if Rankin or Dam or both decide to put on some new Michelin tyres. They come down right to the end of pit road here due to
There's
their
no point for them. There's no point for them to be taking tires, because they already had that gap from what they just did with Aeronam's strategy blunder, but they are taking tires.
Yeah,
well, prove me wrong, throw me down a hill, stuff it into a shoebox and set it on fire.
Now that's interesting, because this will cause a bit of an overlap, but Aeronom having to make those tyres work to the end of the race, so he's coming down the pit straight right now, so he'll go past Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam.
No. Elvis Rankin's going to beat him out. Elvis Rankin's going to beat him out just by the inside, but Aeronom's going to have that outside line. Now they're on to the inside, but there's new tires for Elvis Rankin. He's going to get stopped by the TCR, and Aeronom's back there with him, but Elvis Rankin, he's on those cold tires. Aeronom's on the warm tires now, and this fight for the lead as rejoined up those new tires is going to be so grateful for Elvis Rankin to just pull away from Aeronov, and Aeronov can't believe what he's seeing right now, and he realized that he just lost this race by staying on those old tires.
That's interesting. I wonder, it seemed to me that Elvis Rankin wasn't in pit lane for that long, considering he took tires. I wonder if he's maybe just taken them on the left-hand side of the car. Of course, the side of the car, or the tires that get worked the hardest, on this. So I wonder if he has taken just the left-hand side. Mike Dam, I wonder if he's taken all four, because he's a little bit further back, and they came into pit lane together. So I wonder if he's taken four.
Mike Dam probably took four. He spent 15.5 seconds in the box. Elvis Rankin, 14.5 seconds in the box. Aeronom, 11 seconds in the box. So Aeronom, he saved 3 seconds, but he already lost that 3 seconds, because these guys on that fresh tires have 20 minutes in front of him, and we're just going to see this by the lap times that these guys are going to start putting in. Elvis Rankin, he's going to have to draft. Aeronom's going to have to draft Elvis Rankin, but Elvis Rankin has the tires, he has the grip, and Aeronom's about to get finishy, and oh no, he went very deep on the brakes right there, almost into the grass in turn 1, and Elvis Rankin already 1 second gap. So Aeronom, he's just going to be focused on Mike Dam right behind, but I think it's going to be a third place finish for Aeronom
Car
today.
7, incident responsibility, drive-through penalty, car 7.
And Anthony Kernan, penalty, drive-through, and that is very unfortunate for Anthony. He's sitting at 13th right now, 5 places up from where he started, and that's just going to throw him down the order.
Yep, You do not get away with anything here in the Ricmotech paddock. Driving standards are of the utmost importance, and that's why we have such good racing here in the Ricmotech SportsCar series and all the other Ricmotech racing series as well here on iRacing.com. Yeah, look at this. Colin Weatherholt in 6th place. Now we saw him battling out.
Dive from out of nowhere and oh no!
Oh, he's sideswiped his teammate. That
Gibson.
won't go down very well.
He gave the position back to Gibson, but they're 3 wide through the museum, and there's more contact behind him as we take a look. Colin Weatherholt, if we get it on board from him, he's getting just TCR blinded, and he was just way too late on the brakes, and sideswipes his teammate. I think his teammate Gibson will have suspension damage as well as Colin. That was a heavy hit, and then after this, the TCRs bang it into the 154 of Jacob Beasley, and I think Beasley and Weatherholt might have a little bit of a penalty to be served. We'll have a note by race marshal probably by the next lap of this incident.
Yeah, that certainly shuffled up the pack in a little bit as well. Colin Weatherholt getting very, very hot on the brakes and had to bail out onto the grass, but it really was in vain, and ploughed into the side of his teammate. And now look at that. Race Control have just issued a warning there for car 20, possibly because it was his teammate that he ploughed into the side.
He gave the position back.
That's bound to have played in his favour. I think if he hadn't given the position back, he might well have been told to go through pit lane. Yes, absolutely. So
drive through or immediate removal from the race and forced to go that Taco Bell that got robbed.
Dario Franchitti and Scott Dixon, of course, getting robbed on the way to Taco Bell.
Actually, that Taco Bell got shut down.
Did it? For that reason?
Nah, I'm not really sure. I think it was loss of business and maybe got robbed a lot. I'm not sure. But Mike Dam robbing Aeronom of that 2nd place.
Yep, he's gone by. So proving that tire stop has helped Mike Dam and Elvis Rankin, but interestingly, their pit stop time's not that much different. So obviously just a couple of tires taken, and I'm surprised actually how little time extra it took Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam to fit those tires. So that's definitely been the story of this race. But all of that is
fuel. It was also fuel. They had less fuel than Aeronom did at that time.
Of course, yeah, because of course Aeronom was the guy who had to do the hard work at the front. So Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam playing that strategy perfectly here at Indianapolis.
As you look at the battle for 11th between Brown and Daniel. Daniel looking down to the inside, right beside Brown. Steve Daniel just looking down there. He's going to stress it on the braking zone. He backed off earlier than Brown, and Brown staying ahead of Steve Daniels right there. But this battle for the left is very nice right now. And it looks like Daniel had a little bit of contact with the wall because it's very scraped up right there.
Yeah, and if you hit the walls here at Indianapolis, they bite, and they bite hard. But look at this gaggle of Audi TCR cars. We're looking. Andrew List there battling with Brandon Whitworth. Downey's in there as well. Now Violet, he's miles up the road, 13 seconds ahead from these guys. Has he taken his pit stop, Austin?
Eric Violet, yes, he has taken his pit stop on lap 20.
Penalty car 42, incident responsibility, drive-through penalty 42, director.
And Brandon Whitworth has just been given a drive-through penalty.
Wow, so it's obviously getting spicy, and he serves it. Yes, he serves it immediately. Of course, if you recognise that pit exit going in the opposite direction to the super speedway for the Indianapolis 500, so comes into that pit entry, and he will serve a very long, slow drive-through penalty. It's a long pit lane here at Indianapolis, so I wonder what happened there. Of course, Brandon Whitworth was one of the drivers involved in that incredible ding-dong battle at Watkins Glen a month or so ago. But that's allowed Andrew List and Warner to continue the battle. And this is now List now. Well, he's in 3rd. Warner in now. Interestingly, I think I've seen what's happened. Downey running exactly the same livery as Warner, that rose gold.
Yep, teammates playing that very similar paint scheme, which is I always love teammates running very identical paint schemes. It makes it very fun in team championships, but I kind of like the NASCAR style where they have teams running the same paint schemes, but they mess it around with the colors. But Downey and List, oh, they're throwing haymakers at each other. And I think, oh my goodness, what just happened behind him? One of the GT4s is absolutely sent it in on Warner.
Yeah, that's going to really split them up as well. We see Kevin Ford there in the BMW. He's running one lap behind, so I wonder what happened to him earlier on as well. Sorry, my apologies. I am talking total nonsense. I'm sorry. He is not one lap behind. I don't know where I got that from. He is in 7th place overall right now. So he goes round the outside of the Audi TCRs here, using all that grunt of the BMW. That's got to be my best blunder of the season so far.
List almost came right in front of Bidwell right there and almost got turned around. And now, look at List using the GT4s as an advantage, trying to swing it around the outside in the brake zone, but sending it down to the inside is Downey and List. Banging wheels, side by side they go through turns 1 and 2. Still side by side heading into 3 and 4. List got the little lead, but now Downey back onto the inside. Still got the lead right there. List and Downey still wheel to wheel, banging wheels. Downey and List, they're still bumping and banging right now. Then this is turning into a banger race than an actual race, but List managed to muscle his way around the outside, forces Downey to stay on that curb, give him that little bit less grip right there on that rumble strip to get up into 2nd place. But now Downey has Warner, his teammate, right behind him. And in this traffic that they got in front of him, we're looking at a little bit of bump draft possibilities for the two teammates to get past List. But no, Warner and Downey, they're going to go side by side, heading into Sector 3, and Downey's going to let his teammate by.
Yep, that's the advantage of having a teammate there, having an ally to work with. But the GT4 traffic coming through really does split things up because, of course, the GT4 cars are a bit quicker, but not massively. And of course, the majority of that lap time is made up on the straight with their superior horsepower. So getting through the lap traffic is really, really difficult. It's not like an LMP1 car and a GT3 car. They're where you can just blast by on the straight easily. It's really, really interesting here. The cars are not that far apart. And as we see, look, there's an example of it. Not too much difference on the straight, and that just really makes it difficult for both classes as well. Matthew Warner now, he looks like he's got a bit of pace at the wheel of that rose gold machine, the Sunshine Autos machine, the 046, chasing down Andrew List in the D2D Esports machine.
Yeah, they're all spaced out with that GT4 separating them just a little bit. And that GT4 is going to give List a little bit of an advantage because he's keeping Warner out of that draft. And that's a big blunder from Warner right there. Very wide through that rare left-hander here.
Yeah, certainly was. So this is, of course, Violet, 15 seconds in the lead. We do not see that in touring car races very often at all. An amazing drive from him as we see one of the GT4 runners just trying to get the move done. Yeah, trying to get the move done, but it has to wait better. And actually, that's good stuff because when you're coming up on lap traffic, sometimes you just need to have that little bit of patience, and sometimes that big dive isn't worth it because all of your competitors, they've got the traffic to worry about as well. But here he goes then up onto the super speedway and goes around. But Andrew List has a reasonable margin to Warner, maybe about 10 car lengths or so. So yeah, it's going to be very close between those guys heading towards the line. And already 9 minutes to go in this motor race. Elvis Rankin leads in GT4 by 2.6 seconds from Mike Dam. And look at that, Aeronom is 8.4 seconds behind Rankin and about 5 seconds or so back from Mike Dam. So that gamble for tyres hasn't paid off, has it?
Tires were the key here today at Indianapolis. A little short track strategy, but since this track is pretty much a flat track, the tires will be working on double overtime today. And we were given the news that it was extremely slick out there today. So I am surprised that Aeronom didn't take tires with that knowledge ahead. I said he should have taken them, but unfortunately that gamble didn't work. If Aeronom took those tires, we would probably be looking at a different fronting order right now. because with the amount of laps that Elvis Rankin stayed out with Mike Dam on Aeronom, would have been able to jump Rankin right there, because he would have been about 2 seconds a lap faster, 2 to 1 second a lap faster than Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam, and they sit out there for about 7 seconds. 7 more laps.
It's certainly a curious strategy. I suspect that also Aeronom almost had to try it, because he had to play the leader, whereas Mike Dam and Elvis Rankin got to follow him for a number of laps, and all the while saving fuel. And I think that savior of the fuel just gave Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam a little bit of a margin on pit lane to be able, so they had less time filling with fuel, and that gave them a little bit of a buffer to be able to take those 2 tires.
Indeed.
So, just over 7 minutes to go here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Now, in the championship, this makes things very interesting indeed, because at the moment in GT4, Mike Dam leads on 170 points, Aeronom on 167, and Elvis Rankin on 161. So, Elvis Rankin, the Wonder Kid, well, he will drag himself up right to the very top of the field, it would seem. It's going to be so close in the GT4 field. And of course, our next round of this series, this Ricmotech SportsCar series presented by Proforma Elite Texas Graphics, we go to Lime Rock Park. And I tell you what, these machines around Lime Rock Park are a wonderful combination. But if you think lap traffic is difficult here at Lime Rock Park, well, that tiny little circuit is going to be a big issue to handle.
Lime Rock Park is going to be very interesting to see this traffic worked out. And I know Lime Rock Park and traffic. I got my pro license there, and I ran a few races there. And lap traffic there at Lime Rock Park is a bit of a hassle, but hey, when you go to the only oval with a separate and turn, if you go on that classic layout, it's going to be crazy.
Absolutely, it's a wonderful circuit. Of course, actually designed by Cornell University aeronautical students back in the late 1950s. So we see Steve Daniel having a big look up there the inside, moving by Brown in the 67 machine, which fittingly is painted brown and gold. Just about 5.5 minutes to go here in the Ricmotech SportsCar Series at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Interestingly, the gap between Mike Dam and Elvis Rankin is just sort of sitting about the same, about 2.5 seconds or so. So Elvis Rankin managing that gap very well, despite the amount of traffic that we have out on the circuit. Good drive as well from Cameron Martineau, just edging out Weatherholt at the moment, and of course that little incident with Weatherholt plowing into the side of his teammate certainly just being the difference there. Good drive from Cameron Martineau in that 31 machine.
And Cameron Martineau, great drive. He's pulled out that gap to Weatherholt, and that was a hard-fought drive for Cameron Martineau to get in there in 4th place. Now, still 5 minutes. Anything can happen in that 5 minutes, but Indianapolis is a very wide track. You can make a little bit of a mistake and keep going.
Yeah,
unlike Lime Rock Park.
Yeah, this is a dangerous part of the race. Easy to lose concentration at this point and dip a wheel off just under the grass or tangle with a back marker. It's just that point where you've just got to keep the head down, keep concentrating. But we know that Elvis Rankin, he might only be 13 years old, but he has a very wise head on his shoulder. So you see we've had an incident between car number 95, car number 64.
David Payne and Russ Ruddick.
Which is under review. So something going on there. Our
Matthew
taking
Gosh
a look at it right now. So let's see what happened. We've got Payton behind in the 64 Porsche and Ruddick in the BMW, the black machine.
Payton with a very enthusiastic dive. And my parking lot.
And Brandon Whitworth, well, his day goes from bad to worse in the Audi TCR car there, the 42 machine, already taken a drive-through penalty and caught up in that incident. I suspect it won't take the stewards long to decide their view on that one.
Yeah, Elvis Rankin lapping that GT4 right behind him, but yeah, it was a very ambitious dive to a gap that was there for less than a tenth of a second.
Yeah, Ruddock was just defending his line as he was allowed to, and yeah, just a very
There was a
ambitious
mistake
dive.
by Ruddock. There was a mistake by Ruddock, to be fair. He did go a bit deeper on the brakes, and then he realized his mistake. He covered it quickly, but unfortunately the move was already started as soon as he was covering. So I'm going to have to say that was David Payton.
I would agree. Yes, I would say that was on Payton there as well. We've got another car, another incident under review, car 14 and car 67. So we'll see what the stewards think of that one as well. They're being kept very busy today, and now that's that is the battle. Interesting, the battle in TCR
For fourth.
Yep. So let's see what happens here. Now Steve Daniel in the 67 GT4
Early braking
machine.
by Daniel. And here comes Downey onto the... Oh, that's just a very
Penalty
unfortunate
card
spot.
for incident responsibility drive.
Difficult one that to call. I wonder if the stewards will maybe just let no further action there. Obviously
That's
not.
David Payton. That's David Payton's
Yep.
incident.
Okay. So there
Very
we go.
similar numbers. Very similar numbers.
They are. They are indeed. But Andrew List, I have to say, this has been really impressive at the end of the race here. Andrew List has had Warner in his mirrors a couple of car lengths behind, but he has not let that bother him, and he has really just kept his consistent pace and maintaining second position very, very well right now is Andrew List in 61 D2D eSports machine. There is Kevin Ford. Now he has got the company of Bidwell in his Porsche. But Kevin using the grunt of the BMW Bullet there along the super speedway section. I have to say that Ricmotech branding looks absolutely fantastic on Kevin's BMW.
I wonder if that's on Trading Paints.
I think it might be. I'm sure Kevin would be delighted for you to run it, Austin, the influencer that you are.
I'm popular on the track with getting absolutely destroyed by GT3s.
Well, I think looking at the way that colour scheme's set up, it'll look just as nice when it's on its roof, so it's perfect for you.
Hey, I don't end up on a roof in a GT4 unlike my F3. Okay?
Just in the F3, just in a single seat.
It's just an F3 that I can only flip it every time I get into it. I can't flip it F3.5.
Interestingly, that incident there that we saw between the 67 of Daniel and the 14 car, the TCR car, they had that is no further action, which I think is the right call. That just seemed like a little bit of a jumble up.
That is definitely the right call. That was definitely a racing incident. Sure, Daniel might feel like he'd been cheated, but Daniel was already cutting the course as that happened, so kind of put himself in a bad spot already. But 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time is up here in Indianapolis. White flag is in the air. Elvis Rankin is leading by 3 seconds, and he just got that call, and it is going to be very good for Elvis Rankin for Orion Racing. And I got news that unfortunately it is not on Trading Paints. Custom Bobby Child's livery for right there.
Well, if you
that was a TCR,
just the TCR car going off onto the grass in front of Elvis Rankin. Oh, that's not what he needs to see. That is not what he needs to see. The 324 machine there. Oh my word, that was close.
That's Tyler.
Okay, so Elvis Rankin then with a very hair-raising moment there at the end of the race, but he gets through there cleanly. Elvis Rankin will be your winner here in the GT4 category in the Ricmotech Sports Car Series. Yet another win for the #1 machine. Elvis Rankin wins here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway with Mike Dam very close behind indeed. Good drive from him. And here is Aeronom in the 78 machine. A bit of a gamble to not take tyres. Didn't pay off, but a good podium position nonetheless for the Estonian.
There's a little bit of slide in front of these guys in Eric Violette, so watch out for a car. Big shot there. Oh my goodness, that was Kevin Ford.
Oh, okay, we'll come back to that one then. GT4 battle for 6th and 7th. Kevin Ford had a bit of a contact there, and Bidwell. Yep, so Eric Violette then a dominant win, over 10 seconds ahead in his 89 Audi, and he wins in TCR here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A dominant victory from Eric Violette, and here comes his D2D teammate Andrew List, holds second position strongly from the pole position sitter Warner. There he is in the background in that rose gold Audi, and he finishes in third place. Well, what another thriller that was, Austin. So I think we're going to get a replay now. Yes. So Kevin Ford in front.
Watch for Bidwell. He looks down to the inside, and this is an eye by Bidwell.
Interesting one, because Kevin just got a little bit of a bobble there coming out of the corner. Now look at that. There's some sportsmanship for you as well. Realises he's made a mistake and allows Kevin to take the place. That is the type of camaraderie and sportsmanship we love to see.
Well, the streets today are going to be donned purple and blue as Elvis Rankin and Eric Violette take the win here today at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Ricmotech Sports Car
please
Series.
Remember, after the finish,
so
please
we
head
will
to
take
pit
a
road,
very brief
no
break
contact,
then
please,
here
no contact,
in
head
the
to pit road.
Ricmotech Sports Car Series.
Oh, don't do burnouts on the bricks.
Oh, excellent. Oh, lovely. Brilliant stuff there.
Don't burn out on the bricks. Come on, guys.
Nah, you can. Elvis Rankin then giving us a nice show after a wonderful race victory. We're going to take a very brief break here on Apex Racing TV for a message from our sponsor Ricmotech. Do not go anywhere. We will have race
Please
results
return
and
to pit
post-race
road
interviews
and prepare for the
right up.
post-race meeting.
Welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where we have just witnessed a wonderful contest here in the Ricmotech Sports Car Series. Let's get a look at the final confirmed race results. Elvis Rankin then wins by 3.1 seconds from Mike Dam. In third is the Estonian Eero Nom, ending up 12 seconds back from Elvis Rankin. That gamble not to take tyres not paying off. Cameron Martineau, a great performance from him in fourth place, with his long-term adversary for most of the race, Colin Weatherholt, in fifth. Jacob Beasley finished in sixth place. Paul Gibson was seventh. Kevin Ford finished eighth after that late contact from Cameron Bidwell, who finished ninth. Travis Schwenke was 10th. Trent Brown was 11th. Steve Daniel 12th, followed by Jordy Fike, Jeff Jacobs, Anthony Kernan, Derek Holland, Brennan Horan and Russ Ruddock, followed by David Payton. In TCR, Eric Violette was the winner in that class, with Andrew Less not too far behind, followed by Matthew Warner, Henderson Knox and Riley Downey. Tyler Vickery not too far behind in TCR as well, with Brandon Vickworth, Edgar Sancinelli and Michael Key. So, another thrilling race. Let's see, we have the GT4 overall winner, Elvis Rankin, who is with Austin Knight.
Howdy, Elvis. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm definitely feeling high after that one.
Well, it's a great win for you today. It looked like it was going to be a battle to the very end, but it was a battle of pit strategy. compared to a battle of elbows and maybe a little bit of teeth. But you absolutely pulled off a masterful race and a masterful strategy. What was the deciding factor for you to take tires?
For sure, I definitely knew that our Orion race team number 1 had speed. I knew that wasn't going to be our problem. I knew that the draft was so big here. So the first half of the race, me and my teammate Mike Dam, we just kind of sat around and we just kind of played the patience game, trying to get, just save our tires, right side tires, and then position ourselves so we're the best that we can be coming out of the pit stops. And we saw Aero pit early. And if anybody has a good memory, like 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago when we did the last race at Gilles Villeneuve, we did the exact same strategy that he tried to try and pit early. And we hit tons of traffic. We just couldn't catch a break. And our tires didn't even help us at that point. But tonight, we decided we are going to play the long game. We were going to stick it out till we could. And I definitely think if it wasn't for the lap car of Eric Violet, I think Aero would have been in front of me. But I definitely still think we could have gotten around him and pulled the gap that we needed. But if I didn't get around him just at the start, then I felt like my teammate Mike Dan would have closed it up a little more to them. Maybe we'd been in draft range, and then we would have had a little fight to the flag. But no, it was a really good race.
Well, as you said, that aerodynamic, he didn't take tires. We thought that was a gamble on his part, but we saw the earlier parts of the race that y'all were really struggling for grips. Did you know this entire time that you were going to go in taking tires, or was it a last minute decision?
No, I think we decided we were going to take our left side tires. The only thing that's in our head is that, now we're considering the factor that the races are so far apart, we can't remember really what happened last week, or last race, I should say. So we were like, can we take tires free, or what can we do? So that was definitely a little scramble, but we figured it out, and we made, I think, the right strategy call for the end of the race, and I'm just super happy.
Well, it's all smiles over at your end because you did take the win, and grateful thing for you to watch back on strategies. Thankfully, all of our races are stored on Apex Racing TV, so you go over there and watch the race and take notes of what you did, then watch a little bit of film. But I don't think you got time for that. You got time for celebrating. So, without any further ado, anyone you want to thank?
For sure. I did say a couple weeks ago that I was my final race on a Fanatic V2.5 club base. This is the first race I've gotten to debut my new steering wheel. I want to thank my teammate Travis Schwenke. He kind of helped me guide me the right kind of ways for which steering wheel I wanted to get, and I can be more happy. The Semi Cube 2 is one of the best wheels I've ever driven. I'm so happy with it, so I wanted to give a big thanks to him. My team, Orion Race Team, HPP, Joe Real Timing, for them allowing me to be on their team and be able to help me with all my teammates. Travis Schwenke, Mike Dam, Robert Hartley, all those guys are just freaky fast, and I'm so thankful that I get to be a part of their team. My mom, my dad, my grandma, my grandpa, all of them supporting me on sim and on the real world. All of our real world sponsors that help us keep us on the track, I couldn't do without them. Brain fart. Extreme Motorsports 99 and Ricmotech, the series admins, Kevin Ford, Jeff Jacobs, Russ Roenick, Bobby Childs. We couldn't do without them. They put this whole league on. And I think last but not least is definitely gonna have to be you guys at Apex Racing TV. And shout out to my mom especially for bringing me the ice cream celebratory bowl.
All right. Thank you, Elvis. And you have yourself a good night. And we're going to go to Peter, who is standing by with our TCR winner, Eric Violet.
Eric Violet, welcome to the Apex Racing TV commentary box. Congratulations on a dominant victory. We don't see many runaway winners in TCR, but you did it today. Tell us how you did it.
I'd like to say it was talent and setup, but I think it was just getting a decent start, keeping it cool, in the first couple laps. Matthew Warner was very respectful, so it was really nice racing with him there up at the beginning, and I had my teammate behind me, a couple teammates back there, and also Riley, and I don't know how much they were mixing it up, but we were nose to tail there for, I think, about 5 laps or so. But yeah, once I got around, I just was able to kind of keep about a second lead, and it was really just turn 1 that I was worried about. And after the pits, I don't know what happened, but it's like all hell broke loose. I got to go back and watch the broadcast, or the replays and stuff like that. So don't know what happened there, but just keeping my nose clean. And I think the biggest thing was also too. I don't know how much traffic played a factor in the guys that were behind me.
Yeah, I think it was a factor for many people up and down the field. That is for sure. And of course, it's been quite a while since the last round at Gilles Villeneuve. We go to Lime Rock Park in 3 weeks' time, and another layout very tight and twisty where traffic's going to be an issue. How are you feeling heading towards Lime Rock?
Lime Rock is another one of those tracks where I feel fast, but I'm not. So I'm actually not looking forward to Lime Rock. So I'll have to be doing a lot of practice there.
Well, the good thing is it's a short lap, so you can be more. You can give yourself a pat in the back, saying, "I did 100 laps of practice today."
Yeah, and 1/10. Yeah, if you're 1/10, you're like, "Wow, that was a good lap," but a tenth might kill you there.
Absolutely, indeed. Now, well, before we let you go to go and enjoy this win, Eric, is there anyone you'd like to give a big shout out to here on Apex Racing TV?
Absolutely. I forgot a couple people last time, so I got to thank my wife for letting me do this. And it takes more time than probably a lot of people realize. Nick's Dog Treats, that got them on the roof. They've been with us for about a year or so, so it's really good to have them along. Of course, you guys, Apex Racing TV, really nice having the broadcast, being able to go back and watch it. You guys do a fantastic job. And of course, all the people at Extreme Motorsports 99. And of course, Proforma Elite Texas Graphics. They sponsor not only the league, but they also sponsor us. So shout out to all those guys, and thank you very much for having me.
Well, Eric, I am delighted that we have a dog-related sponsor in the Ricmotech paddock. Nick's Dog Treats. Have I got that right?
Yep, Nick's Dog Treats.
Oh, that's getting plenty of shouts in the broadcast. So make sure they're tuning in next time. We'll any excuse to talk about dogs on the broadcast.
All right, thank you guys.
Thanks, Eric. Cheers.
Hopefully next week we make it 3 in a row.
Absolutely. So that was Eric Violette, and I believe we have our second place finisher in GT4, Mike Dam, is with Austin Knight.
Yep, standing by with Mike Dam right now. Mike, how was that race? Mike, this is Austin Knight in the booth. Do you copy?
Yeah, I got you. Sorry. Yeah, it was a pretty good race for me. I thought me and Elvis got a good start and kept the pressure on. So.
Well, it was a good start for you. You were staying in third behind Aeronam and your teammate Elvis. Elvis said that it was just a strategy to just be staying behind that entire time. So when Aeronam went to the pits and you were battling for the lead or trying to stay with Elvis, were you trying to go for that lead at some time?
So going into the race today, we knew we were off pace a little bit from Aero. So our main focus was 100% on trying to crack Aero. We knew he was going to qualify first, but we just wanted to do as best as we could. And yeah, we just kind of worked together to kind of force him into mistakes, and that seemed to work as we progressed through the race. Elvis got in front by the pit stops, and then we just decided to run it to the end of our fuel tank to hopefully mitigate the traffic. And as it turns out, we had fresher tires when they came out, and we were able to pass them. So just good strategy by us. Honestly, by the time we came out of the pits, I tried, but I really didn't have anything for Elvis. We kind of just kept our gap the whole rest of the race.
Well, it was a good strategy by you because you came home in second place. So that is on the podium, and you had a great finishing position. Before we let you go, Mike, anyone you want to thank? Mike?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, just Kevin and Jeff, all the guys that race in this league. just everybody that puts us together. Ricmotech for sponsoring it. Thank you guys for broadcasting. I'd like to thank Team Orion for just support and just just the guys for helping me make setups and stuff, and just a good race.
All right, well, congrats on the second, Mike. You go have yourself a good night as we go to Peter, who's saying bye with Andrew List.
Thanks, guys.
Andrew List, a brilliant drive to second position there in the TCR class. How do you feel about it?
Feel pretty good. Yeah, we kind of came out there, and all the D2D cars were pretty similar setups, a little bit of tweaks here and there, but I think the key to today's race was being out in front and not having your front aero impacted too much. So Eric did that really good, getting out there super early in the race, and he just kind of drove away from the rest of us because I think we were too busy battling with each other and using up our front tires, and he just kind of stuck with his game plan. So it was a boring race for him, but an exciting race for everybody else.
How we always say, if we don't talk about you much on the broadcast, it means you're doing a good job. Just hitting hitting your marks. Now, in the closing stages of the race, you had a good amount of pressure behind from Warner, but you just clicked out those laps. Tell us about what was going through your head for the last 10 or 15 minutes of the race or so. It seems like you really didn't crack under the pressure.
Yeah, I mean, he was giving me all sorts of room, and Warren's he's a great guy to be around, and you can feel pretty confident about racing him pretty hard. So, I mean, he was trying to get into my slipstream, but I think it was the same thing that I was saying at the start was, I mean, I had the clean air and he had the dirty air, and I think he just kind of overheated his tires. I mean, you think of these TCR cars, they're 3,000 pounds, so they're pretty much, they weigh the same as NASCAR cars, and they got all the aero down on them. They got all the winglets and all this other stuff and the diffusers and everything. And if you get another big object in front of it, I mean, you're really just taking away all the aero grip that you get on those front ends to help those tires stick. And I think that's kind of what ended up happening to him later on. I think he just ended up overheating his tires, and I was able to just keep them cool and clean air. And yeah, I just knocked out a few good laps, and he got a little bit of traffic. So yeah, I'm sure he'll get back at me one of these days, though. So he's a pretty good driver.
Well, that's one thing we can guarantee in the TCR class. It's always going to be close racing, that's for sure. Now, Andrew, I'm sure you got plenty of people you want to give a shout out to here on Apex Racing TV. Now's your chance to give them a shout.
Yeah, I just want to thank Extreme Motorsports for putting this great league on, and also Ricmotech and all you guys here at the broadcast. You guys do a great job, and obviously D2D esports racing, great group of guys, and I think we're working pretty well together. And Nick's Dog Treats, and a bunch of other people I'm sure I'm missing, but yeah, thanks guys, I appreciate it.
Another Nick's Dogs Treats factory driver. Well, they're getting a big shout out next week on the at Lime Rock Park. Andrew, thank you so much for coming to join us. Go and enjoy the second place finish.
Thank you, guys.
So that was the thoughts from some of our leading drivers here in the Ricmotech SportsCar series. But we are far from done here. We have a busy season of racing between now and Christmas time. Next week, we are off to Mid-Ohio for the next round of the Ricmotech GT Challenge series with our GTE machines from BMW, Ferrari, Ford, etc. and also GT3 machines from Audi and Mercedes. So that is same time next week from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. In 2 weeks' time, with the Classic Sprint Series with the old Ford Mustang and the MX-5 Miatas go to Lime Rock Park on the 5th of October, which should be a whole lot of fun. And then a week after that, 3 weeks from now, we have the next round of the Ricmotech Sports Car Series. On the 12th of October, we go to Lime Rock Park, and that should be a whole lot of fun. A huge thank you to our major sponsor, Ricmotech Racing Simulators, for all of their support of the series. We could not do it without them. A wonderful, wonderful event that we've had today here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, thanks to Ricmotech. Thanks also to my broadcast partner, Austin Knight, for his wonderful insight and entertainment, as always, and also our producer, Dennis Branch, for bringing us these wonderful images and graphics. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next week at Mid-Ohio for the Ricmotech GT Challenge. Good night.